Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, it's Kieran, and well, look, here I am. But I'm gonna leave up the Patreons. This is our Patreon tiers here. All the people that support us. Just want to point this out and put this up here because I think I forgot to do a last episode, so we'll leave it up there for a good long time while we get into the show. How's it going? It's myself, it's Jer, it's Johnny, and a little bit later it may be Sean. We'll just see what happens. Obviously, I think Sean's explained many times why he's busy. Might be something to do with this thing. It's actually this is the sign language for baby too. It's the sign language for. Don't you know sign? Don't you know every goddamn language, Johnny?
Yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if you just spoke German, Joe. That's a Johnny.
He's fluent in Swahili.
Had to learn how to speak to Kamala somehow. Somebody in the locker room needed to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into this. So we're gonna go over Halloween Ends trailer. Should be dropping within the next couple of weeks. So we're gonna talk about what we would like from that and what we think might happen and what we would want to happen. They're not always the same things and quite often different. We will also talk about House of the Dragon for a little bit there. Not this guy because he's fucking all he does is watch goddamn wrestling. He's got nothing else to do except fucking wrestling. Piece of shit.
Busy weekend.
But
come on.
I already know Johnny has seen it, so me and Johnny will.
My weekend was just as busy, and I found time.
Yeah, you were busy losing in Madden.
Yeah, and I still found the time. Ooh. I even squeezed in part 2 of the Settlement series.
Yeah.
This is why you need to go. This is why you need to go and watch Bros Before Pros, Johnny's Twitch channel, so you can see all those shiny new games that he's been playing. And I actually have a couple friends who really like to watch Johnny play these games. They're big fans of him on Twitch now. So I have yet to do it because I go to bed at 9:30 days I'm not on here. But actually, no. I think I caught Johnny's first or second stream. But yeah,
you were there in one of the early ones, yeah.
I was there for one, and I remember me and Chan were talking in the chat room. Anyways, let's get into this Halloween Ends. So the trailer should be dropping the next couple of weeks. We've been hearing that. It's kind of been. I mean. There's only so much time left now anyway, so it's, we got to be getting there. But what are they going to show? What aren't they going to show? What should they show? Really important question. And I mean, I think some of us are down with some of the possibly spoiled material that has been going on here. Is there anything that they should be tipping us off to, or should it all be a secret? I'm going to pass it off to Johnny first for his commentary on Halloween Ends.
I think to a certain degree they've already shown too much, and that's just, I didn't know anything, spoiler wise or anything like that before the first teaser dropped last month. And I kind of put the pieces together myself, figured out, the curve and what was going on. And it's,
did you notice a certain something?
Yeah. It was hard to miss that.
Jamie Lee Curtis was in it.
Yeah. But, it's
from every fucking angle possible. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those circumstances where I think they've already shown too much if you know what you're looking for. John Q. Public, sure, they've seen, they don't know what they're seeing, but people who've actually watched the franchise and the series watch that first trailer and they're like, oh, we're doing that. Okay. They've adjusted themselves accordingly. For me at this point, I don't want anything. We're what, a month and a week away from this thing, right? It's October 14th.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I mean, a month and 8 days from now, and there's what's the point at this? Who are you? You're gonna John Q. Public, who doesn't care? Yeah, they're gonna go see it anyway. I'm going to see it anyway. But it just, most people at this point, I think they shot themselves in the foot by making the announcement that it was going to be on streaming services the same day without a trailer being out there. Because now people who weren't invested, their response is already, I can just stream it at home. No big deal. And, not having tickets on sale prior to that, I think, hurts them. Because there are going to be fans of this franchise who take that same stance of, I just don't want to spend the money, so I'm just going to watch it on the streaming service.
That's fair. That's a fair comment, and I get that. I've always actually just always been blown away by the trailer. It's usually the third trailer. Sometimes it's the second, depending on what movie it is. But there's always a trailer a couple weeks before the movie drops. And it's always the shittiest trailer that just shows you like constant scenes of everything, reveals quite a few things. If it's a comedy movie, it probably has the best 3 jokes in the movie. If it's an action movie, it probably has the best 3 stunts in the movie. And, when we're talking about Halloween, it's probably gonna reveal the best 3 kills or the best 3, maybe, I don't know. Depends on if this movie is gonna go the same sort of way as Halloween Kills, which has been reported it's not, but if there's gonna be a lot of cool kills and crazy sadistic twists and turns, and it's probably gonna show too much. And I know I've been critical before on this channel about that, but like I've never understand that Super Bowl spot or one of those like things where it just happens a couple weeks before the movie comes out and shows way too much. It's usually a decent start. Usually the first trailer is a teaser, and that's cool. The second one might show you, I didn't really want to see that. The second or third or whatever the last trailer is always like, come on, god damn it. Like, so anyways. Yeah, spoilers. Let me do a little roll call here before we get to John. I like to do the roll call. Let's see who's here. Apparently I'm still coughing. Little Joey is here. I want to say that in an R-Truth voice there. Little Joey. Solid Saturn's in the house. Justin Smith is here. Little Jonas is in here. And earlier we had Zach, Mr. Kenneth Braley, Terrence, Drake, Caitlin, and of course Solid Saturn was first because he's the top fan. And Balor Fan WWE. What's up, guys? Balor Fan. I'm not sure if I've seen a Balor Fan in here before. We're gonna quickly talk a couple of things. We're gonna talk a shit ton of wrestling today. So if we're gonna talk a shit ton of wrestling today, then you're here. You're in the right place. Yeah. So let's get the opinion of the man here, the man everyone wants to hear from. Myself. No, John. Let's hear what Jared has to say. Do we think we're gonna get? So we're saying we're probably gonna get too much. What is it you want? What do you want from Halloween Ends trailer?
Honestly, I just want a trailer that. I mean, we've already seen that they're willing to pull the wool over your eyes and not give you the actual plot line in the trailer. And I think that's the road that they're going to take in further trailers. They're not going to give away the story of the movie. And so with that, I mean, I don't really have any expectations with it. Show me that I'm going to see a Halloween movie. Obviously, if you've read spoilers, you know what you're getting into. And if you haven't, you're going to go see a Halloween movie. At the end of the day, that's what you're paying to see. And I don't think they need to, not at this point. At this point, they don't need to kind of, lift the veil of what the movie is. They just need to show Michael killing some dudes, show Jamie Lee Curtis being angry and, maybe shooting people or something, just give us a couple kills or something and show us that, hey, we're going to get a confrontation between Michael and Laurie Strode, and voila. Halloween Ends coming October 14th, whatever. I don't think they need to really do much beyond what they have. It is what it is. And Johnny brought up a good point where I think the problem with the trailer now is they don't need to try and sell you into the movie theater. They don't need to try to earn your ticket money. And I think that's a problem, obviously. I mean, we've seen it with WWE and the network. They don't need to sell pay-per-views, because you're already paying for a subscription that's going to get you there anyways. You click a couple buttons and you're going to get the movie. So you don't need to care there's a detachment with the product, I think, when it comes to it being immediately on a streaming service. There's an ease. There could be. You know what I mean? Like, I just think there's this ease of access that is almost a bit of a detachment to what it is.
Yeah, I get that. I've always thought it's funny because I did say, like, I don't know why they do these trailers that show too much. I do know why they do it. They do it a couple weeks before the movie comes out to give you that last show of, like, this is everything. We're showing you. We're revealing the whole goddamn bag here. Like, you can come see it. Like, what, they do get people, 2 months ahead of time when they go to the theaters and they see the preview and they're like, God damn, I'm marking that off on my calendar, October 14th, I'm going. Yep. They get those guys right away. And the people that see the 2 weeks before trailer, they're like, God damn, you know what? That looks all right. Like, what am I doing in 2 weeks? I got a free movie pass. I could go see that. They're trying to sell that audience that wasn't going to come anyways. Like, they don't need advertising to get, a few million people, because a few million people are like, it's a Halloween movie. I've seen them all. I like them all. I've known about this movie for a year and a half, we've known about a trilogy for a long time now, right? So it makes sense there. But yeah, I can get the idea that, like, I know it's going to show up on my streaming service eventually, and I'll just click on it. Like, for that, I get it. But streaming, the numbers do matter as well. Like, how many times it does get streamed is important. So hopefully they're still trying to sell those people on actually doing it. Because I know a lot of things come to Disney Plus, I would say the most, where I'm like, I'm going to watch that. I was definitely going to watch the Mighty Ducks TV show. And then it just passed by. I just never.
I watched one episode. I was hyped to watch it too. Yeah.
But I never clicked on it. So, and I still haven't. So they didn't sell it, even though it was free to me. And I might have passed over it a couple times on the way to going to watch Prey or going to watch, whatever else was on there. Plenty of Marvel shows, plenty of Star Wars shows. But those things sold me, right? So you still got to sell that click. And right before it gets to streaming service is probably the best time to do that. So anyways, we're going to switch gears a little bit. I want to reserve a lot of time for wrestling today. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you guys like this Halloween stuff, and I do too, but some big shit happened in wrestling, so I really want to get to it. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about House of the Dragon. Myself and Johnny have seen the episode, and we also talked about it on our House of the Dragon show. So if you want to get a little bit deeper in content there, go and find the link for that when it comes out. I'm not sure if it's out today or if don't think it's out quite yet because we weren't live yesterday. But if you want to get the longer version of this preview that me and Johnny are going to give you, then, find that video, click on it when it pops up, and a little thing comes up on your phone and says, Fandom Empire just released another video. Click on it, please. So because I've talked a lot and I'm running out of voice, I'm going to turn back again to Johnny to give me just maybe like a 2 minute, 1 minute, 2 minute impression on your thoughts on episode 3, House of the Dragon.
It pushed the story forward. I know some people complain about how it went about doing that, but to me, it pushed the story forward in a great way while having, a character do less. It proved that sometimes less is more, and it did it in a very awesome way. And it gives us a new look into the thoughts of some of the characters that we've already seen, like the King specifically. You get to see a bit more behind the crown, as it were, and sort of start to understand his thought processes and how he works. And you're seeing more further establishment of the people around him as characters and who they are and the way they operate and what their modus operandi is. And in this episode, you got some of that. I almost use the word nostalgia, which is not exactly the right word for a prequel, but you sort of had that pre-nostalgia. Is that a thing? But you had that classic Game of Thrones character family house show up that you haven't seen before, with the Lannisters making their presence felt in a very large form in this time period before the Lannisters we know. So it was it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a great episode. For me, not necessarily my favorite, but not my least favorite. They all kind of it's sort of a flat curve so far, but I expected that, knowing how the first season was structured.
Yeah, I felt very similar to the way you did. I liked that we got a little bit of a peek into some of the characters, and what are the thoughts? We got to see the King, King Viserys, in a lot of ways. We got to see him drunk too. We got to see him arguing with people, kind of telling people like, I am the fucking king. We got to see him open up to his daughter. We got to see him talk with a lot of different subjects, and we got to see him finally give some aid to Daemon, who is openly defying him. So interesting turn there. We also got to see a ton of action, like the most action in the 3 episodes by far. Some really crazy stuff. And we got to see lots of that pretty dragon, lots of that dragon that I do so much love. I'm actually a really big fan of Daemon's dragon, even though it has been getting some critical reception. It does not look like a regular dragon. It looks like a flying, water salamander thing with a giant dragon head. It's an interesting design, and I dig it. What I didn't dig was most of this episode, though. It's actually kind of I'll talk about it a little bit more. Well, you'll see in the video. It was kind of disappointing me. I think I'm the lowest one on our House of the Dragon panel on this series so far. So I'm not losing hope at all. I'm still excited to see the next one on Sunday. I still think it's going somewhere great, but it hasn't been too hot for me so far. So we'll see what happens there. If you guys are in there watching this, can you guys give this shit a like, for God's sakes? No, I'm just kidding. Please add a like if you can, and comment and have fun. If you guys are watching this after the fact, comment. We like to get to the comments. I love to get the comments. So do it up. And now the feast, the absolute fucking feast that was AEW this weekend.
We're talking about that empty-headed dumb fuck, Hangman Adam Page.
Apparently. So, I'm probably going to go the same way as Sean does quite often. I'm gonna give my part of it, and then I'm gonna pass it off to my friends who know 10 times as much about wrestling as I do. So
I feel like we heard this intro yesterday.
Yeah, we did. I know. That's what I said. I know that. I'm pretty sure that happened. If you guys didn't see yesterday's episode, really great breakdown of what happened. Now,
to that point,
some more things have happened. So, or at least some
further
more
knowledge
of
things that had happened.
There has
we have further knowledge on what has happened. So, obviously, sort of the genesis of this is this interview that happens between Punk and Hangman a few months ago. I went back and I viewed that. I know you guys were talking about that, and maybe that not being a big deal, and maybe Johnny said he didn't even remember it, and I remembered it. I remembered the promo.
I remembered it, but I didn't remember the content. And then I watched it after Jay made a point of saying he was, supplying it to the group. I watched it again, and I'm like, okay, great. Go back to the locker room and look the guy in the face and say, that was a little personal. Let's not go there.
Yeah. So,
oh my God, that's a difficult conversation.
I don't get it. I don't get it because it's one of those things. They mentioned the pipe bomb. It's part of that thing. It's the whole CM Punk thing. And I feel like Hangman's kind of trying to create his own little muster up his own little pipe bomb on his own. And he mentions that CM Punk maybe isn't for the boys as much as he likes to say, or work relations or whatever, or talent relations. He mentions that, and then he says he's going to protect AEW from CM Punk. Flash forward, CM Punk. Flash forward, CM Punk waits until he gets a live mic again to fucking instead of going on his Twitter and all that and whatever, instead of doing anything that's at his disposal, because he's a big fucking important wrestling. He's important in the wrestling business. He waits till he's got a live mic on TV. He comes back and says some random stuff about Hangman while Hangman's probably planning out a segment with a completely different person, not ready to be in that light.
If that's to believe.
Basically, couldn't respond even if he wanted to. They, believe it or not, people aren't just hanging around in Gorilla ready to run out and they got other shit to do. Usually that's not real when that happens. So
when a guy runs out when he's challenged, it's not because he was standing directly behind the curtain the entire time.
Might have known it was.
I just thought they sprinted from the locker room hundreds of meters away. I just assumed everyone was a world-class track sprinter.
All of this stuff. Fast forward, we get to AEW. The pay-per-view is pretty good. It wasn't the greatest pay-per-view, but the stuff with MJF was pretty awesome. I was pretty happy about that. I thought it was cool. The match was okay. And by okay, I mean it was a good championship match. It wasn't. I mean, I'm not going to go on and on about how great the match was.
Not every main event needs to be 5 stars.
It wasn't even the best match on the card.
No, not even.
Sorry?
It wasn't the best match on the card.
No.
The best match on the card was on the pre-show, guys.
You know what the best match on the card was, Jer?
What? You're fucking right, buddy.
I don't know about that. That was the most over match on the card.
That was such a great match.
I'll agree with that, but best match on the card, Ishii and Kingston on the pre-show.
It was okay.
That was a better wrestling match.
They just hit each other and growled a bit. Whatever.
King's Road, baby.
So we get to the after press, and this is where the stuff really happens. We explained it in quite a bit of detail yesterday, so I don't want to go too crazy, but if you've seen the CM Punk presser, he basically just hijacks it and says a bunch of stuff. He buries the EVPs several times. Like, don't read an article and think that he once said, like, well, EVPs are fucked here. He buried them. Every answer to every question was like,
he buried everyone.
You know what? I would really like to have a steak for dinner. Unless it was made by the EVPs. They're fucking stupid. They don't know how to cook. Like, it was like everything all of a sudden related to the EVPs, which is like, you're talking about directly about people. It was not like I wonder which one he's talking about. Didn't matter.
Why is he cutting a promo on Cody Rhodes?
Flash forward, I think Punk was the first one out there, so Punk was the first one to leave after that. We're getting to some other interviews here. From what's been described, the Young Bucks went and aggressively knocked on CM Punk's door. He's fucking tired and beat up and bleeding and probably pretty pissed off. And they're fucking knocking on his door, just fucking not letting it go, yelling, screaming, hollering, apparently kicked in the door. I would like to imagine that the three of them backed up and super kicked the door in.
Kicked the door.
Just
That's a BT.
It's probably not how it happened, but that's how it happened to me. Damn it! They rush in. Ace Steel, who is the guy who was in the promo, revving Punk up. His wife was apparently in the locker room, and he stepped up to what he said, step in for his wife because he was worried for her. And at some point, he threw a chair at Nick Jackson and possibly bit Kenny Omega. And apparently, this heated argument went on before that. It went on during a brawl. It went on after a brawl. Jericho is said to have been in the area and kind of been maybe the cooler head and being like, guys, this is fucking, this is like, we're a wrestling company, goddammit.
Grown men act like it.
Yeah, that sort of thing. That's totally a thing Jericho would do, is be like, guys, we're fucking grown men, and then probably go fight someone else later. Yeah, so I believe that's all the Raw information that's happened. We're getting it from Punk's point of view. I'm just gonna pass it to Jer. Did I miss anything specifically?
No,
context-wise,
I think covered all the bases there. Punk specifically named Hangman in his rant. He mentioned the EVPs. I think he was referencing the Young Bucks more than Kenny, because apparently during the fight, Kenny was kind of just staying out of it. And then once the brawl started, he ended up in the middle of it. It was mostly the Bucks kind of coming for Punk, essentially. And Ace Steel's wife, who had a broken foot, just happened to be there because she was watching Larry all night, CM Punk's dog. And so the brawl breaks out, and Ace Steel obviously is going to see red with his wife in the room. And so he just starts, throwing chairs and eating people's faces. And so the fight kind of calms down, and poor Tony Khan is still doing the media scrum and has no idea any of this is happening up until the very end, where Jericho is the last guy in the media scrum. And right at the end, he whispers to Tony and says some shit went down. And you see Tony's face just be like, huh? And Jericho's like,
in his defense, that's Tony's face.
True. And so Tony was unaware the entire time. And when you see Swerve and Keith Lee, who were talking immediately after Punk, there's a security guard that runs off to the side of them, and everyone kind of clued in like, hey, something's going on. And so the fight happens, it gets broken up. News slowly starts leaking within 24 hours, there's a big brawl and all this. And so now the latest news was that all of the guys in the fight are not expected to be at Dynamite tomorrow night. And they've called an audible and brought in Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley to kind of fill out the show. I don't know how much this has changed booking plans and whatnot. Meltzer said as of 8:15 p.m. today, there are suspensions stemming from the Sunday fight. No exact details on who or length and whatnot, but that will probably come out. So yeah, right now it's kind of the dead period. And Meltzer also reported that a reason there's kind of been radio silence on a lot of this is due to legal ramifications. Now, nothing has really dropped based on the fight and anything coming from it, but there has been the term legal thrown around. So I don't know if, what that entails specifically, but this is a big problem, and I don't know if it's just going to be an in-house problem. CM Punk apparently has a lot of heat on him from this situation, and there has been talk where Ace Steel may be fired for his part in the situation, Punk may be fired. And if not, then Punk is likely due a suspension and a lengthy apology upon return.
So gone?
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, Punk is not the most humble guy in the world. He's eating muffins and, talking about Colt Cabana's mom's bank account. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Here's the thing.
That's where we're at right now. So,
it should be interesting to see what happens. I don't think we're gonna get a Punk apology. I mean, I could fucking see so many things happening before that scenario. I would like to see what happens in terms of a Kenny or a Young Bucks apology. I know that they're not like I believe Punk when he says that some of these guys are like, we're not taking advice from you guys. Like we're doing it our own way and we do it just fucking fine. Like I get that, and that's probably not the right attitude. I wonder if they're the type of people that would come out and be like, guys, we're sorry, we're an embarrassment to AEW, we embarrassed AEW and sorry to the fans. Like, would they come out and do that? I don't know about that. Punk, I really don't understand. I really don't see that happening. In terms of who gets a suspension, I think it kind of has to be everyone or no one. I don't understand. Like, you got to be kind of like the principal at school, and pretty much everyone gets suspended, even though you can be like, well, this guy fucking did this first, and you're like, he shouldn't have done that. Well, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, there's precedent with the Eddie Kingston-Sammy Guevara fight where Kingston threw the first pie face and was suspended for it. So, I mean, there's got to be something coming.
Yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. In my opinion, and we got Justin Smith in here who loves the wrestling chat. I love how he
finally joined DMD the other day too. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
He said specifically that he's on the Punk side. Let me tell you, I went through an interesting catharsis all day today. Like, I was thinking, like, right away, I was like, oh my God, Punk's fucking blowing up this company that I love. Like, he's fucking, I'm tired of this shit. I haven't even really enjoyed his run so far. And it's like, go away. Like, but then there was a part where I was like, you know what? Maybe they should have, like, understood what was happening when they signed Punk. Punk is just being Punk. And, maybe they should have done some deeper homework and said, like, hey, like, you and Mr. Goldman or whatever the hell his name is, should probably not be in the same room, or maybe we should do this, or maybe you guys should talk this out. I don't want to have a fight between you guys. I was also thinking, like, you know what? Maybe he's exposing problems that are in the AEW. There has been reports that Kenny was supposed to do something with the women's division and it just fucked off and didn't care. There's like, not everyone loves the Young Bucks. Like, it's not, whatever. But then I really quickly, like, an hour after that, I went back to it. I was like, you know what? No. I watched the interview with Punk. I watched the whole thing. He just fucking goes on and on about it. He says, he talks about fucking Colt Cabana having a bank account with his mom like 3 or 4 times. He buries the EVPs in everything he says. He's really weird with the interviewers, with the press. He was just kind of a prick the whole time. Like, I feel like he was just kind of being a dick the whole time, the whole interview. And Tony Khan should not be on any kind of TV, including these sorts of things, because he obviously has no control. I think he's just a fan who wants to bring fun wrestling stuff to the fun fans, which is great because he's done a great job so far. I'm entertained. But
I mean, there's nothing wrong with Tony being on the panel. because he can speak to a certain element that none of the talent can. He can speak to the business of it, but there needs to be. I mean, these shows are the prime example of that. You need a moderator, someone whose job is to control the flow, to control what's going on, someone who can sort of control the media and control the questions and things like that. And just we point out in the chat, there's several guys in the company who are qualified to do that. I mean, Tony Schiavone is stepping up into a higher role in the company in the last month. You can see that due to his slow sort of pullback from television, which is something he's wanted to do for years. If you listen to his podcast, which I do, he wants to be a producer. He doesn't want to be a talent. He wants to be a producer. He's wanted to be a producer for the better part of 10 years. He just got the bug and, came out and did the AEW thing after the Bruce Rhodes match at the first Double or Nothing, and got the bug and came back and did 2.5 years on TV every week. And now he's kind of like, I'm over it again. So let me do what I want to do and let me produce. Let me be a backstage guy. He could very easily step into that position of controlling the flow. But Punk on Sunday night went off the rails from the start. Like the fact that there wasn't even a question asked of him yet when he went off on Colt. Because the person asking the first question is a known friend of Colt Cabana, he jumps on that. Like, what? That's completely. I can 1,000% guarantee you that reporter's question, whomever, I don't even know which reporter it was, but that's irrelevant. Whoever that reporter was, I can guarantee you their question had absolutely zero to do with Colt Cabana.
And he quite often through the internet, he just kind of comes out and he's just like, "Hey, who are you?" Like, "Oh, my name's George." He's like, "I don't like you. I heard about he's just really weird and like he's really off." And the other point I came back to that I just couldn't get over was, like if you go back and you watch the Hangman Page thing, it's not. It's not exactly him saying sunny days or anything crazy like that. Like, it was kind of a, like he said, who are you when the red light goes off and, whatever, are you really a champion? Like he's basically saying you don't have very good character. You're not a real champion. Like, but like, it's a fucking promo with CM Punk.
It's one of those, you walk back through the curtain, you do the promo, you look at the guy and you say, dude, that cut me a little deep. I don't know, were you trying to do that, or did that just, kind of happen? Because, Jared can speak to this far better than I can. When you're cutting a promo, sometimes when you feel it, and you don't even realize quite how far you go until you go there, and then you pull back and it's like, whoa. Like some promos just have that effect.
Here's what I wanted to get to is, like, CM Punk didn't come back and make a quip. CM Punk came back and was like, "I'm hijacking this show. Hangman Page, you're a piece of shit. You're a fucking coward." Like, it wasn't like he was like, he was like, "I don't give a shit." He also buried it. He was like, "I don't give a shit about the match with Hangman." Like, he buried that, so it's not really going to be made into an angle. He comes back on and he says the same, like, it's the same shit. Like, he's just going on and on and on about the EVPs. He's going on and on about all this stuff. Like, he's going into business for himself more than anyone. Like, how can you go like, well, how can you go, Hangman Page is going into business for himself or whatever, and I'm pissed. And then fucking
every time I've had Mike in the last month, I'm doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, 20 goddamn times worse. Like, not in a way that's veiled to the crowd. That people who watched that interview were like, glazed over it. If you watch the Punk interview, you're constantly you probably rushed straight away to find out what the fuck is he talking about. Like
Justin points out in the chat that this was sort of a breaking point, and my question is this: why is that relevant right now? Like, it's a breaking point of an issue with the EVPs about the Colt Cabana thing. You brought it up. Like, if you're dealing with all this, pressure, you need to sort of vent out this situation. There's time and place. This is neither of those. You know, like he gets to a point towards the end of the scrum where finally he talks about the person he should have been talking about from the start, and that's Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And then he goes off on him.
He fucking buried him for fucking.
Oh, the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it, and all you're doing is shitting on the lawn. I'm like, what the hell have you been doing the last 30 minutes? Like, I mean, like, it just, you know, you spend 30 minutes shooting on guys you're not working with. Like, if you're shooting on a guy you're working with and you're getting real, that's fine. If he does the MJF stuff and cuts out the Adam Page and the EVP stuff, that's great, because that's in service. You know, that's using your personal angst and anger and aggression in service of the storyline, and that is A+. That's chef's kiss. But
that's why
just,
I think that's why a lot of people fell in love with Punk in the first place, was that he made some real stuff come out, and like, yeah, like when he said fucking I'm tired of John Cena,
and real.
Yeah, when when he came out and said I'm tired of John Cena, I'm tired of Dwayne, I'm tired of Hulk Hogan and whatever. That's what the fans were all feeling too. Like, I'm tired of The Rock coming up, being fucking awesome for 2 months, and then being like, yes, The Rock's back, and then he's fucking gone. Like,
I'll see you in 4 years.
It's real. Like that stuff was all real. Like, and it made it made us all excited. So, but like, this is not the same. It's not the same as coming in here and fucking trying to bury the guys in AEW. Like, I don't think a lot of people are. Not a lot of people are jumping on top of Colt Cabana right now. Like, fuck him. He better not be on the roster by next week. Like, fans don't give a shit. Like, even I'm not a Colt Cabana fan. I don't give a shit if he's in the company or not. Like this is not.
I
not
personally
the same.
love Colt Cabana, and moving him to Ring of Honor, great, because that serves him better. Because what was he doing in the Dark Order? Absolutely nothing. Once you reestablish Ring of Honor, you can use Colt in a way that actually benefits Colt Cabana. You know, that wasn't working on the main roster.
Yeah. I tried to, I jumped back on the Punk bandwagon for about an hour today, and then I just kind of reverted back to, like, you know what, like, he's crazy. And honestly, like, what do you guys think of CM Punk's run so far? Because, like, for me, like, I could give a shit if he's in the company at all now. Like, he hasn't really moved the meter for me. And I think the other thing is, I don't think he's really added too much to AEW. Obviously, he's added some, like, there a lot of people tuned in to see CM Punk, as did I. Was super excited to see it, whatever. But I don't think, like, chemically, I don't think he's really added too much to AEW. He hasn't made the show that much better. So from a not like, who cares about this interview? Pretend it didn't happen. Pretend the backstage fight didn't happen. Like, are we okay if CM Punk just leaves or gets fired or doesn't come back? What do you think about that?
Like, okay, so his run with MJF is probably the best thing AEW has ever done. But then they pair him off with Hangman, and it kind of dies a death. It didn't set the world on fire. I mean, yeah, it did the $1 Million Gate and whatever, and that's fine. But, like, from a creative, entertaining perspective, it wasn't really on par with what Punk had done previously. And then he gets hurt, and then he comes back, and even from a kayfabe perspective, he's cutting promos on Hangman, and you're like, what the fuck? And then the Moxley, the 2-week angle with Moxley, that was good stuff. Rushed, sure, but it was good, and it served a really good purpose, because the end game was always going to be Punk getting the belt back. And so that was fine, and we got the conclusion to that story, and then they interject MJF back in, and hey, this could be a good thing. We could get good Punk again. I'm cool with this. And then we're not going to get any Punk for who knows, and it sucks, because MJF took the time off, and then they do this great angle to bring him back at the pay-per-view, And you're excited for this main event program because now MJF is not only coming for Punk, but he's coming for the title. And that's the different element that the previous feud didn't have. The previous feud was personal. This, MJF's childhood hero, and MJF is coming to destroy him, essentially. And so now MJF is not only coming for Punk, but he's coming for the title. And these guys are in the main event program with, realistically, they absolutely should have been in the main event program because Hangman and Adam Cole was fucking dog.
Yeah, it was
not good. So, you're on this high at the end of the pay-per-view, and now it's like, yeah, this backstage stuff is really cool and all, and hey, people are legit fighting. Yay, we got real heat with people. But if I'm a fan of the product, this sucks, because now we're going to get an MJF promo on Dynamite tomorrow night, which has been announced, and we don't know where they're going to go. They don't have a direction anymore. Punk obviously is not going to be there, and they're not going to suspend Punk for a couple weeks and then just shoehorn him back into the MJF thing. They've got a pay-per-view in what? Just over 2 months. So they have a world champion who's probably suspended. They've got a heel coming back off this great angle, and he's the most over guy in the company right now. And it just feels like the company shoots itself in the foot, and the same with the MJF angle previously that MJF left the company on. It was a great angle, and you were hoping that there was a payoff, but you didn't know.
I know what I would do already. I think I already kind of know, just thinking about it right now, is I would immediately try to put Wardlow back in with him. And the reason is because I think Wardlow needs to get that. He needs to redo that jumping off with MJF. MJF obviously has some new buddies, and he also has a shiny new chip that he can rub in Wardlow's face. I think that's the way to go. But it's not the way to go. Like, it's not better than putting Punk there and doing what they were going to do. It's definitely not that good. It won't have that much fire. I think that's where I would go with it.
It's a plan B, and it's a plan B. And that's what's about it.
Yeah. You will, for sure.
I think part of the problem stems back to one factor. And that is that, people talk about CM Punk return to AEW like it's had this huge, massive effect on business. When in reality, I've spent part of the last 10 minutes digging it up, and the guy has popped 2 ratings higher than 1,120,000 viewers twice in the last year since he debuted. And that's it. They've been floating around that. In fact, they've dipped a little year over year, spending a large chunk of the year under 1 million viewers. It hasn't had this big boom on viewership, and the ratings pops weren't even at the episodes you'd think they were. Like, Punk's first Dynamite only popped at 1,172,000 viewers. That's it. The post All Out episode, hot off the debuts of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson, popped a 1.3 million views. Like, that's not CM Punk. I love the guy. I do. And I think he's a great talent, and used effectively, he's, an asset. But if you look at the locker room effect it's had, it's not been good. It just... Yeah,
I went back and I did the same homework today. And the rating is anywhere between 600,000 and, 1.1 million. It goes over that sometimes. It goes under that sometimes. The unders are usually because it's completing with some like NBA playoffs, things
Sports,
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gets moved to different days.
NBA playoffs,
the
MLB
lows
playoffs
are attributed to that. And the highs are when, they throw a Danielson versus Omega, a Punk match, a Moxley's. When they throw those matches on, they do pop a little bit higher rating because people decide, some of the NXT people will decide they're watching they're going to watch Dynamite live tonight instead of catching it the next day. But yeah, business, like, it's still going like this. It's not going trending way up because Punk has joined the company. I do think Punk can say that he's sold this and he's done that and he has, but I don't think he's done numbers to the point where he can be like, who gives a fuck if I'm an asshole and I'm, I'm pissing people off. I'm doing this. I don't think he's at that point.
He doesn't have as long of a rope as he thinks he does. I mean, does he have a difference on selling tickets? Absolutely. But, I mean, as far as ratings, yeah, he's not the top-end game-changing guy that he is. He's a guy in the company, and, if there's something big, it might top a better rating. But, I mean, they're not blowing the doors off their average rating that they get every week. I mean, has Dynamite been up over 1 million the past couple of weeks? Sure. But, I mean,
I think the reality is
1.5, right?
Punk speaks to a niche market. He speaks to the lapsed fan, and the lapsed fan is great. Like, John makes a point, Punk brought him back because he's a great Punk guy. Too. And that's fine. He brought back a lot of fans like that, but they're not enough. There are fans, I guarantee, in the arena the night he debuts that have no idea who this man is. He's just a guy coming out to a great song with a Pepsi tattoo on his shoulder. Everybody else is excited, but I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him wrestle.
I don't know about that.
If you're a 16, 18-year-old, there's a chance you don't know who he is.
I guess that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, and those guys, when you bring your kids and they got the Darby Allin face paint and they're 14,
exactly.
They don't know.
Yeah, sure. The fan in his mid-30s.
I think you're right there.
The fan in his mid-30s sees CM Punk like, holy crap! You get that moment, that pop, that reaction, like, holy crap, he's back. But do you stick around? Some did, but a lot didn't. It's...
Yeah. He stayed away long enough where the generational thing kind of does
pass him by
effect on it. Yeah.
It'd be like, I think the prime example now is like when Hulk Hogan shows up at WrestleMania, 3/4 of the fans only knows, hey, it's that guy from the intro.
Yeah. Or the guy from the lawsuit, which is even worse.
Well, I chose not to go that route, but yeah, that too.
Yeah,
they don't have that effect.
Okay, so this is what I think. This didn't really go the way I thought it was going to go. In the fact that in my head, I'm like, you know what, fuck CM Punk, but I feel like you guys are somewhat on the same page as me with that. So, I mean, the three of us all coming on here and being like,
effect. Yeah, he has his effect, but he doesn't. It's not the effect that he thinks he has. I love the man, but even if you look, and I've been a fan of CM Punk's going back to 2002. That was the first time I ever saw Punk. Was 2002 when he had the feud with Raven in Ring of Honor. And that was amazing. And then they did the watered down version with Jericho at WrestleMania 26?
8.
29, I didn't think it was that. Really? Was 28 New York with Taker?
29 was New York with Taker.
Whatever. Either way, you sort of get the watered down version of it later. But if there's one thing I've learned about CM Punk is that he has an ego the size of Texas, and he's had that since 2002. This isn't something new. This isn't, he didn't develop this ego in, the 10 years he was gone from the business. He has possessed a massive chip on his shoulder since day one in the business. And you expect that, that, and you need to, I don't want to say work around that, but you need to be able to manage that. And I think it's sort of a circumstance. I think, honestly, and I'm willing to sort of, I don't want to say stake my reputation because I can't do that, but I am willing to bet dollars to donuts if Tony Khan knows that in 1 month, I will be debuting Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole. I don't think CM Punk is even in AEW.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
The interesting
this
thing
is
about
what I would like to do. I'd like to do this as an experiment here, and I know that you guys like fantasy booking, so we'll get into this. So, like I told you right away what I think we should do, what I think they should do. And I think right away what should happen is MJF should come out. Maybe he faints the Punk music and then comes out and says, "You're not gonna fucking see that guy around for a while." Like I don't know if I would like
is something that we haven't. There is something newsy that we haven't touched on, and that's the torn pec.
Who tore a pec?
Apparently, the reports going around that either he tore his. It's been reported as a torn pec, a torn. I'm hearing everything. From pecs to groins, basically. Apparently, Punk tore something either in the match or in the melee, and may not even be capable of going.
I heard it's a dive. I heard it happened in a dive, and that. I mean, he was obviously laboring when he got in that interview before. So
he was icing the area during the scrum, but that doesn't necessarily.
That doesn't mean the tear happened there. That means it was sore, and that where leads to it, where leads to tear. Stop cutting me off, God damn it!
I just wanted to get that on the table before we got there.
No, you're right. You're right. I get it. Also, fuck off. No, I'm just kidding. So I think that we should start off super hot with MJF coming out saying you're not gonna fucking see the goddamn CM Punk like for a month or whatever. He doesn't have to say. He doesn't have to say a time. He comes out here. He should fucking jump right on Punk. He doesn't have to say anything crazy. Is he here? Oh my God. It's the fourth man. Nope.
Whose side is he on?
Damn it, I was just going to say that.
Sean just mentioned me that something about being in the green room, and then
one thing that Johnny
still the ominous chair. Ominous chair leave. The other thing I would do. The other thing I would do is I would have MJF. I would have MJF bury him. I would have Wardlow come out and be like, "What the fuck are you doing here? I chased you out of fucking town. Like, blah blah blah. Come in there, do an angle with him, and then have a show where you showcase your four pillars. Put up the stuff there where you're gonna show off. You gotta have some good stuff. What I'm gonna say is make sure that you fucking have a great card, have a great show, because there's gonna be lots of eyes. They're gonna want to hear about CM Punk, even though they're probably not gonna hear anything about it. They're gonna want to see if the Bucks and Kenny are on or what happens. They're gonna want to see what's gonna happen. You're gonna have to make sure this show is fucking good. So they better fucking scratch. They better put their heads together and find out exactly what they need to do for this show. I think we're finally gonna have Sean on the show. But Jared, go ahead. Fantasy book Dynamite tomorrow, and I'll bring Sean on, and he'll yell at us for burying Punk.
Honestly, if they don't acknowledge anything on TV, and I can't imagine they would, I would just have MJF come out and cut a promo on Punk saying that, you know what, Punk's not here. Punk didn't show up. I showed up with the chip on Sunday, and he ran scared. And run with that for as long as you need to. Because Punk being gone can be a benefit to MJF. Because MJF can talk, and he doesn't need to actually do anything. And even if it's like a hinted, like, oh, everybody knows that Punk is suspended, but MJF refuses to acknowledge it, then it's just more heat on MJF for not acknowledging reality, which is perfectly in line with his character. So I'm concerned that they would. It depends on the timing of this suspension, because if Punk is only gone for a couple weeks, then they can shoehorn Punk in and have MJF carry the angle leading into the pay-per-view, which is fine. But if Punk is gone for a considerable amount of time, then they have to, probably strip him of the title and completely change plans. So I don't know exactly what kind of the best case scenario. I mean, MJF's going to carry whatever he has to do. There's no concern in that. So if Punk is gone for a long time, do a little mini tournament and put the belt on MJF. If he's back in a couple weeks, have MJF just carry it in promos and then insert Punk when he's good.
I feel like I mean,
it sucks, but
he needs to take the title from Punk, though. That's how I feel. I really want to get to Johnny, but we finally got the smoking man down here. He's like the fucking guy from the X-Files, the smoking man in the corner. All you can see is the fucking cigarette. Gives them information. We got the smoking man down here. Who was actually Sean? Sean, I don't know if you've been listening to the show, but we're fantasy booking what's going to happen with people tuning in the next day, and Punk or Omega or the Bucks not being there. So how do they keep this going? How do they fucking keep the wheels spinning on this?
Burn them all. Oh wait, wrong show.
No, I think it fits here too.
Well, I mean, I have no bloody idea, guys. I've been pretty upfront with Kieran and Jared today about how I kind of feel like I'm losing a friend, sort of. And not just because of the Punk thing, because before Punk ever got there, I was into the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and the positivity of AEW. And I think Johnny would tell you there was 5 or 6 years ago, there was no chance I was ever going to be into wrestling again, period. Could not have been less interested. I got to tell you, all the toxicity and negativity and how much this is blown up, regardless of Punk leaves or not, regardless of what happens with the Bucks, it's almost becoming not fun, for me anyway. For diehards, great, but like it's almost become something more. Like we all deal with crap in our personal life that creates enough stress. We shouldn't have to deal with that in our fandom and entertainment life too. And it feels like between the turmoil with Halloween and now the shit with AEW, we can't escape it. I like Jared's idea. Let MJF go out and do his thing. And you know what? Maybe you let him go out and bury Punk, because technically Punk's still a face. And if Punk's not getting fired, and the more I think about it, the more I don't think he is getting fired, but that doesn't mean he ain't quitting. I would let him bury him as much as he possibly fucking wants without crossing too far of a line. And then there also needs to be an apology, but the apology's got to be, it can't just be Punk. It's got to be Punk. It's got to be the Young Bucks. It's got to be Omega. I don't know if anybody caught it, but the thing that's not getting talked about much is Kenny Omega flat out saying into the camera after the match, guys in the back, top that one, bitch. And
That's
like
wrestling.
No, it's no way.
Yes,
there was
it
way
is.
more to that. I'm not buying that at all. That was a hidden message. Come on.
That match was that match second, third?
Second, I think.
Yeah, it was
Like
it
this
yeah.
is pro wrestling. We should be the main event. We deserve the main event. We want to be the main event. Follow this.
Trios, no thank you. I don't ever want that as my main event. But
that's pro wrestling though, right? You go out there, you have the best match you can, and let's be real, they had a phenomenal match.
Oh, for sure. But I think you're being incredibly naive if you don't think there was more to it. That's just my take. I could be wrong.
You're reading too much into it.
I think there's a lot of
you're
people
taking
reading
everything
too much.
that follows it and looking into it as something that's not. That's heat
okay.
of the moment.
Right, but
it's very possibly that. It's very possibly that. It's very possibly not that. I mean, the part of the elite is follow that. We're the fucking greatest show. We're the goddamn best circus.
It's Kenny's character. I'm the main event.
It is kind of like that, but it also very well, like, I can see both points being very possible. So I
understand why you interpret it that way.
Johnny's on one end and Sean's on the other end, but I do see it could be either one of those things. However, yeah, it wasn't the match right before that, so I don't know.
Just to be clear,
ladder match, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think there were 2 or 3. It was early. I was surprised how early it was.
Several matches between that, I believe.
I can't stay long because my phone's going to die, and I'm not going into the studio tonight. But I just want to say Johnny's far more of an expert on this shit than I am. So if there's someone that's far more likely to be right, it's him or Jer or even you. I'm simply saying, as a human being and knowing how human beings act when people get bitter and petty, it doesn't matter if you're a professional fucking wrestler. At the end of the day, you're a human being, and human beings do shit things all the time. I've seen, and I'm not throwing DMD under the bus, I've seen all of social media basically point the finger at one fucking guy, and nobody's talking about the guy who's responsible for all these guys. I mean, some people are, but really, he's not nearly getting enough attention here. And say what you want about Vince McMahon, but he seemed to find his way around this shit, at least in the modern era. I mean, it did happen, but I don't recall it blowing up like this. And in fairness, social media wasn't nearly as prominent as it is today.
Social media in 1997 would have made this look like a kindergarten field trip.
Someone's GeoCities website.
What you're saying is Tony Khan should tell them all that they're fired unless they have sex with him?
No, he didn't do that to dudes.
Jackson going to show up with a handful
we know
of his hair and throw it down on the table.
I shared something with Jer earlier. Sean Ross, I think that's his name, Sean Ross from Fightful, had said, look, at the end of the day, they have an opportunity to turn this into massive fucking money, whether it's 2 months from now or 6 months from now. I don't know if Tony Khan's the guy that can make those egos work together, but I hope someone does, because even though this is a horrible what has happened, it's terrible PR. There's a lot of things going on that people aren't talking about, including the network involvement. It can be pro wrestling all you want, but TV networks still have a say in this shit. That's how it is. If you don't think that TV network values CM, Phil Brooks, Punk, whatever, more than the guys that are on the other side of this, you're out of your fucking mind.
I think you're wrong.
In terms of general audience, I'm sorry. I think the
ratings. I think the rating proves that he's not as valuable as we think he is.
Didn't it go up a couple 100,000 ticks pretty consistently with him there?
No, we went over the numbers earlier, and it really didn't.
No.
Like, they only popped a super high rating twice in the last year.
I do think the one market that Punk has made a huge difference in is merchandise. So I do think he's untouchable in that.
Definitely.
It's hard for me to say that when guys like Danhausen pop up.
Danhausen's awesome.
They keep finding these niche guys that pop up and just go merchandise crazy. And that's the one thing
I'm sure Scissor Me Daddy is fucking selling out everywhere now.
I would feel very wrong buying that shirt right now.
I both want that shirt and don't think I could ever wear that shirt, but I want it. But I don't think I'd ever wear it.
I would love a podcast where we're all wearing that fucking shirt.
It'd be awkward because it'd be like cut off, so it would all be like "Scissor Me Daddy," and people would be like, "What the hell am I watching?"
Yep.
I do think the same thing. I'm kind of in the middle here. I understand Punk is definitely equals money equals ratings. I think for sure.
Sorry, Kieran, one second. I'm a Punk fan. I just don't want this to come off the wrong way. I'm not saying the way that he acted is in any way acceptable. I would never.
Oh, yeah, and I know that. We've talked about that already a few times today. Like how it's just like, it is annoying how everyone's jumping on Punk's back, and we just did. The three of us just did for sure.
He deserves it. Frankly, like, sorry, I like him, but he deserves it.
He's just. Sometimes I think like I've said it already. Sometimes I think he just likes Bret Hart so much that he just wants to be a fucking crotchety old man like Bret Hart. God. Like he's just like. He's like, I'm going to do Bret Hart matches. I'm going to do Bret Hart 97 promos. And then I'm going to do also Bret Hart style living. I'm just going to fucking bury everybody. I don't give a shit. I have the best goddamn matches ever. I'm the best wrestler who ever lived. The only wrestlers that are better than me are fucking dead. Like,
I'm sorry, at any point in the next 6 months, they book CM Punk versus Wardlow. I'm terrified. Yes, that's right. I just made that comparison.
Oh, boy.
That's how highly I think of Wardlow.
I just hope that at the end of the day, there's no lawsuits, and that either people can part ways as amicably as possible.
I don't think there's an amicable split here.
Or they find a way to work together and just endure. Either way, this is no win for AEW. At the moment, anyway, it's no win for AEW. It's taking away from, even though I thought the pay-per-views is kind of okay, There's so many big things that happened in that pay-per-view. That Acclaimed match was just insane. There was great matches all over, and Jer pointed out the other night, hey, nobody's talking about that now, and that's not right. That's not right for any of those guys, especially the guys that are trying to climb their way up to the next level. And I hope cooler heads prevail, but if any of us feel like we know the way CM Punk acts, I think even if they got to a point where here's the solution, you're suspended or drop the title and we'll bring you back in 2 or 3 months or whatever, and maybe the other guys get a month or 2 months, who the fuck knows. I just have a hard time seeing him being like, yeah, I accept that. I'm not saying that he shouldn't, but I knowing how he acts,
you're actually going to suspend me? I quit.
I could totally see him doing that. It's not like he needs the money. Sorry, he doesn't. It's not like this insane lifestyle. It's shit though. It's a shit situation. I don't think he's going to get fired, but I do think he's going to quit. That's where I am. Where are you guys with it?
I think that's the most likely outcome.
We all kind of went the same way. Like, I think we all kind of think that if there is some sort of punishment, he's not going to take it well. It's just like we all know CM Punk, right? CM Punk, he is like he's out there. He's out there in the interview saying basically, like constantly saying like, I'm the fucking guy here. You guys are nothing. Like, he does really believe that he is like far superior than the rest of the wrestlers on the on the roster. He like he'll put over Moxley and he'll put over Jericho. I think he respects both those guys, but I don't think he respects anyone that wasn't in WWE. I think he thinks they're small potatoes, and honestly, like with how well AEW's done, and it's with how good AEW's done in its first couple of years, I don't think any of those guys are small time anymore. I think they're viewed by millions of people for a couple of years now. Before he got there, I don't think they're nobodies, but I think he thinks that. Like I think he thinks that they're not, they haven't been to WWE and they're not shit. And I know you guys talked about this, but like Kenny comes from a place where he got to the top of the mountain, the one that he wanted to be on. And
Kenny main evented a top tier pro wrestling pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He main evented the WrestleMania of Japan 4 times, 5 times.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, obviously we know how hard it is for a gaijin to get over there too, right? So
very much so, especially in that era.
As a top person.
This is the part of me where I always go, does that mean too much though in North America? And I'm not talking for diehard wrestlers because I know you guys are bananas over that. But for a guy like me, there are more. I'm sorry, I will disagree with you guys all night. There are more guys like me watching that product than there are guys like you. That's how it works for everything. Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, professional wrestling, even sports. And I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Although I will say this, Kenny Omega, even before AEW, was getting TSN time. That I do remember. That's how I knew who he was. And I don't recall anybody else getting that.
Here would be my retort to that, though. Like, these guys were doing good TV numbers before anyone got here. They did pretty good.
Highest rating Dynamite in history was the first episode.
The first one still. And same thing with the pay-per-view when the whole company started, because the WWE guys were like, fucking sell out a building, then come back to me.
Can I play that annoying devil's advocate here for a second? Not as a pro wrestling guy, but as a guy who covers TV and movies. Most TV shows' first episode is their highest.
Oh, you're right.
Episode,
I'm not pointing to that.
Yeah.
I think the difference is, to the point I'm making, is that the highest rated episode after that is only 100,000 less. I know that sounds like, that's, it's big, but it's not big.
Wasn't Raw in the day? Go ahead, Kieran.
If you look at the constant ratings, they're like this. They're constantly hovering. They have gone lower. They have gone to like the 600,000s, 700,000s. But most of that is easily explained as they were going head to head with NBA playoffs, things like that. Quite often, if you look at the weekly ratings, when they say like, "Oh man, it really dipped," there's usually
Game
like,
6 of the Eastern
the
Conference Final
games-
was that
yeah.
night.
and that it's usually when they're expecting it, and they moved it to a Saturday that week, and they moved it to whatever, and like most of them have been explained that way. If you go through the ratings, if you're familiar with the constant rating war, then most of them are explained in that way, and the same thing happens to WWE as well. But like, yeah, CM Punk has added fans, has added ratings, has brought in money, but it's not like he didn't really crazily change things. Like, it's not. He didn't bring in enough money to justify dragging the company under, or like, it's not to the point where they can be like, you know what, we could probably fire the Young Bucks and Kenny and just keep Punk because of that, because it's not that type of numbers. Like, he's not doing that.
Well, it's age too, though. Like, I love Punk. The guy's got, and this is optimistic, maybe 5 years left, and that is extremely optimistic.
I think
and
so.
the other guys
Especially
can
with
probably go a decade and a half, if not more. So, like, number-wise, it is never going to work out in his favor. I just hate, and you triggered me there, Punk dragging the company down. This did not start with Punk, and people seem to keep forgetting that. First, it started not even with Hangman. Tony Khan's got a set. He's the guy. It's his company. He's the leader, head of creative. He's got to set an example, whether they're all adults or not. If your owner is acting like a petulant child on social media, it's not a good look. It isn't. It's terrible, and then it makes other people think that they can get away with murder, and it's not like that. Or it shouldn't be like that. Rather, I just want to make a couple of points, and I got to get out of here. One, I thought he brought it up in his press conference. They're all human beings. Like, I hope everybody remembers this, that as much as, Sean Ross, whatever, and whoever want to report whatever they'd like to report, and I'm assuming there's a lot of truth to most of it, at the end of the day, you have no idea what's going on in any of these guys' personal lives. You don't know if someone's dying. You don't know if someone's deathly ill. Same thing, I suppose. You don't know if there's relationship issues. You don't know if they've had the day from hell. We know what Punk just went through. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm not making excuses for the Bucks. I just hope everybody remembers, as big of a prick as sometimes people see him in life, sometimes there's a reason for it. And that just makes it really, really hard to get on the same page. So I don't think any of these guys are out to, I was going to say hurt anybody, but I guess we got into that altercation. I don't think anybody, truly wants to see anybody get severely hurt or anything like that. I just think they're human beings, and they're in a competitive business. And guess what? When things get competitive, shit gets dicey in any line of work. I just hope there's a positive outcome.
It's hard. And I think there's a lot being made of, well, what if it's a toxic backstage? What if there's, this group against that group? But, like, let me quickly fire off to Jer and Johnny. Like, how was the locker room in ECW?
That was much different because everyone was too high to get in trouble.
But wait. How was the locker room in WWE in the 90s?
Toxic.
How about the 2000s?
Oh, yeah,
less toxic because they were less on toxic, top, but how about not? How
about 2010 on, like more recently?
Toxic-ish till Punk.
What about TNA? What about TNA?
They're just happy the checks don't pass.
That answer.
WCW. What about WCW? Throughout most of their time. I'm just gonna lump all that together because I know the answer. Here's the thing.
That's Chernobyl.
Those are all the wrestling companies. The problem is you're getting to people who it's their job to go like this. Look how fucking big I am. Look, like I'm the best. Like, look, like this is what they got to do. They got to puff out their chest. They got to act like they're the biggest badasses in the world. They got to be muscular. They got to be like half of them are supposed to be assholes because they're on the asshole team. The other ones are supposed to be good guys. Everyone's fighting for money. Everyone's fighting for contracts. They're underpaid. They're overworked. They're like, this is a business that is revolving around assholes. There are quite a few assholes in the business. Like like earlier on, I was saying Jericho is the cooler head. Jericho has been looked at as an asshole several times too. The Undertaker, everyone loved him. Lately, everyone's kind of been making fun of the Undertaker for things that he's been saying. Like there's not really many people that aren't touched by like, well, that guy's kind of an asshole. The Clique, they were all assholes. It's kind of a toxic business altogether. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I feel like it's a business where being toxic is not really out of the norm. It kind of happens quite often. So I don't think this is I do think it's a little bit being made up that like, oh, but it could be a toxic dressing room and it's going to ruin the company.
Every locker room has been toxic since the dawn of time.
It's
the big difference is this is the first time we've had a legitimate national contender in the social media era. Everything we've had since social media was a thing. By the time social media was a thing, it was WWE. That was it. That's all the world had. Yeah, we had our Ring of Honors and our Impacts, but were they ever really a threat to the WWE in any form or fashion? No. They were gnats. They were bugs that could have been squashed underfoot easily. I mean, Ring only survived because Gabe Sapolsky studied.
Have you ever tried to kill a gnat, damn it?
If you get it under your boot, easy. But that's the hard part. And that's why Ring of Honor is a good example of being a gnat. Because Gabe studied at the foot of, the greatest shyster in pro wrestling history. And yes, I'm talking about Paul Heyman. And was able to keep consistently adapting that roster and changing it and churning out superstars one after another. I mean, if you look at the Ring of Honor title, it's pretty much a lineage of the greatest wrestler on the indies until the WWE signs them. The only exceptions to that rule would be like AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels probably are the only two major. I mean, Jared could probably speak this more than I can, but as far as WWE or Ring of Honor champions that were not WWE stars at one time or another, if you get past the Rob Feinstein era, otherwise we have the Xaviers and the Lokis of the world. But once you get past them and get to the Joe and Homicide, I guess, another example of a guy who never went to the WWE. Maybe on one hand, Ring of Honor champions not. But he did make it, though. He did get there.
He made it there. He didn't really do much. Yeah.
They realized he was Austin Aries.
Now he's controlling his own narrative.
So. We don't need you.
And even when Ring of Honor knocked on WWE's door with New Japan's backing at Madison Square Garden, WWE tried their best to fuck with it until they were met with Sinclair Broadcasting lawyers, and then they backed off. So even companies themselves are toxic landscapes in and of the business. Mm-hmm. Like I posted on DMD earlier how these wars between companies existed long before the Monday Night Wars, which is
the example you created is like 4 wars late. I mean,
exactly. So it's from the top down. Vince McMahon was not a character. That was Vince McMahon. Tony Khan is not a character. That's Tony Khan. Are we
sure about that?
Valid point.
I mean, yeah, it's turned up a little, but it's still, these are the head guys, and just all the way down, you get these people who look out for themselves. And it's funny in that context because Punk in the scrum pointed out, I'm here to bring other people up, who then exist to bring other people up. And then he just spends the entire interview
dragging everybody down,
who he ideally should be building up. Fuck that Hangman guy. I didn't put him over. Like, it doesn't make sense. But in wrestling, that's the mindset that you've always had, and it's encouraged. That's another thing.
That's like it's almost
I'll
like
help the guy up until they can step on me.
Yeah,
it's almost like they throw 30 salesmen in the same place and then say, "Hey guys, I'll try to sell this car." Like they're all like they have to fight each other for that time and that spot and that whatever. Like they're all trying to get to that one spot. It's not like people are like, I really like the mid card spot. No, those guys are like, fucking, I need the high, like, I need to be on the TV show. Like everyone's trying to sell themselves, so they're all.
That's one of the things that I love, that misconception about pro wrestling. Everybody talks about the glass ceiling, and said like, oh, Vince has the glass ceiling, but in reality, Vince doesn't control the glass ceiling. It's the guys that are above the glass ceiling. You always have those guys on the roster that can control your fate. If you look at like mid to late, well, that's not even who I'm talking about. But like if you look at like mid to late 90s WWF, if X-Pac decides I don't like you and sandbags you in that ring, everybody in the locker room goes, dude, this guy can't work with Waltman. He's crap. Get him out of here. No matter who he is, and no matter how talented he is, like there's prime examples of that. You can bring a guy down, you can build a guy up, or you can tear a guy down. And we make that Punk example. He wants to be Bret Hart. Well, he needs to be Bret Hart in 1987, making Tom McGee look like Hulk fucking Hogan.
That was a one and done.
Okay, hang on. Let me defend Punk here for a second. Everything you guys said that he did in the scrum, 100% true. But wouldn't you not agree that he has had some incredible matches with guys that are not main event talent in AEW and has told good stories in them better than they've done with some of the other guys that are in the company? I think that has happened.
Guys that aren't main event talent?
A bunch of them. That's most of his record, man. What has he done? Like 15 matches?
I mean, him and Dax was good.
I just said earlier, honestly, that like the MJF stuff was great. I personally haven't really been a fan of his run other than that, and I've said so a few times now, which sucks because I was a big CM Punk fan. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really too impressed with most of his stuff other than that.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'm on my own on that one.
I'm curious to see who he's worked with, because I feel like he hasn't worked with many guys that aren't main eventers.
He worked with Kingston. He worked with Darby.
Max Caster, I think, or was it Bowen?
I've actually just pulled up his
Max
cage
Caster.
match.
Yep.
He had 23 matches.
Hobbs.
He
worked with
AEW.
Powerhouse Hobbs.
He's had 23 matches in AEW.
That was a good match.
He worked with Darby Allin, Powerhouse, Daniel Garcia, Matt Sydal, Bobby Fish, Eddie Kingston, QT Marshall, Lee Moriarty. That's where the non-main eventers stop. So he spent, 3 months helping out the little guy. Then he starts working with Darby Allin and Sting against the Pinnacle, MJF and FTR, Wardlow, Sean Spears, MJF.
Okay,
Kevin
Sean
versus
Spears,
FTR.
come on.
But that was part of the MJF feud. Like we can say
he beat him in 8 seconds.
It exists. Like it was 12 seconds, but
we didn't make him look good then.
It's because I have the time directly in front of me.
We can't say that he put Sean Spears over. Yeah.
Dustin Rhodes, John Silver, Adam Page, FTR versus Max Caster in the Gun Club.
I don't think I saw a Dustin Rhodes match. I must have missed that one.
It was on Dynamite.
I have to see if that's on. April
20th. April 20th of this year.
Did they?
I think so.
Who?
Dustin and Punk did a Brett finish.
Well,
I think so. Yeah.
There was
I think they did the Gold Dust finish.
They did a Brett finish, really?
Shocking, right?
I gotta go, guys. A fantastic discussion. It's so easy to take this negatively. Let's just all hope for a positive outcome, regardless of what it is that AEW is better off one way or another. But you asked me when
I got tickets to Rampage in Toronto earlier, and I'm fucking psyched. I don't give a shit if everyone involved is fired from this company. I will still be jacked to go to that show because whatever, if Hook's there, if Penta's there, if Max Caster's there, if fucking Danhausen is there, some of these guys who have appeared on Rampage to kind of make that show, those sorts of guys, like, I'm fucking jacked to go to that show anyway. So, yeah, I wouldn't, like, it's interesting to talk about. It's fun to go on about this. It's actually been entertaining. Our numbers have picked up a little bit during this segment, which is great. But, yeah, it's fun to talk about. It's still fun to make it a big deal, even though I still love the company.
You asked me when I first got on how would I fantasy book it, and I really didn't have an answer. You guys are going to probably think I'm nuts, but if there's any way to, if there's any way to smooth things over, maybe it starts tomorrow night and CM Punk's music hits, goes out to the ring, breaks the fourth wall or whatever it is, and just says, "I fucked up. I'm not the only one that fucked up, but I fucked up. And I need to go and take some time for myself and think about what has happened." Blah, 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 blah. Leaves the title in the ring. Walks away. I don't think he would do that. But if there was a good way to do it, maybe that's the way to do it. Own it. And don't just fucking interim it. Forfeit the goddamn thing. Take your suspension. Take your lumps and come back. That would be my fantasy booking of it. I don't know if they would ever allow that to happen.
I think if he,
I hate that.
Convinces Tony, and because there's going to be a great many pre-show meetings before this. Like if he convinces Tony that he's willing to, accept his part in all this, and do a make good for the betterment of the company, because that's what he's been about. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but if he's willing to do what's best for business, that's probably it. It's definitely it's a smart booking decision if they can convince him to do that, if he's willing to do that, because that does make the most sense booking one. But
what would
then
be
you're stuck
awesome? What would be awesome if that happened, and then MJF's music goes on, and then MJF is some way ordered to contractually say, "I have the chip, and I get to fight whoever's the champ, and no one's the champ, so I just get to be the champ." Like, if he could
that
somehow...
would be the worst decision they could make booking-wise.
I think that would be awesome for him to just come up and get the belt from no one. I think that would be awesome.
This is one of those instances
It's Triple H again.
This is one of those instances where the company is sort of hampered by not having that authority figure person, because I think that'd be a great promo for MJF to come out and say, "Well, I got this chip. Next title shot's mine. So I'm just gonna," and then, insert general manager, commissioner walks out and says, "You're right. You get the next title shot at the next champion. But next week on Dynamite, we're going to have a fatal four-way with the current top 4 ranked contenders. And you'll face the winner of that match the following week at Arthur Ashe Stadium at Grand Slam." Okay, that's your smart booking right there. Gets you from A to B to C and in a logical fashion. But, the sad part of that is, though, then you're looking at, hey, congratulations, Jon Moxley, 3-time champion.
I'm going to listen to the rest of the show, guys. I'm going to put it on the TV. I got to run. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, though, just because I know at least 3 of the 4 of us have a significant other here. Maybe Johnny doesn't. He's just keeping her secret, son of a bitch. Anyway, if there's any truth to what Jer posted on DMD, and I posted the comment, if they kicked the door down if it was only his wife answering from the inside, I feel fairly confident in the 3 people that are on this panel. If we were Ace Steel, we might not have bit someone, but we would have went fucking ballistic if that happened. I might not know Jer well enough to assume that, but I know Kieran well enough to know that if his missus was in a room and someone booted the door down, that he's going to fucking kill them probably. And
my only response to that is, you throw hands with them because they kick the door down. They scare you. You're feeling scared for your wife. You throw hands, no problem. The second you pick up that chair, that's when it becomes a problem.
We need leak footage.
It would be hard. It'd be hard to judge that without being there. Like, it's knocking. Like, they're like, it's like get the fuck out here!
Banging on the door.
Murder you!
Let me in. Let me in.
If they were like, Mr. Punk, I know you're in there, then maybe not.
He wasn't knocking like Sheldon. Let's put it that way.
But so, anyways, I'll we'll let Sean get out here. So I feel like we just keep reeling him in with more and more. Like he's like, I gotta go, guys, and we're like, but don't you think Punk's a fucking piece of shit? And then he's like, you know what?
No, I do think he acted like a piece of shit. I'm not going to defend that. He did. As far as I'm concerned, if the dude gets fired, he asked for it. I just hope it doesn't happen. So,
yeah, I hope it doesn't. I mean, yeah. Anyways,
have fun, guys. Cowboys suck.
I don't even have to make that shot.
See, what an asshole! Sean's burying Hangman Page right now, like his friend, like his good friend CM Punk. He's like, you know what?
Bed.
Cowboys
send Ace Steel after him.
Yeah, exactly. He's fucking burying Hangman. What a piece of shit. Now, obviously, he's talking about Jared's Cowboys that both probably sucked this year. So
Sad
yeah,
part is they'll probably still win the division.
Okay. Are we agreed here as a three-person panel here? Are we agreed that MJF needs to come out early and do something great? Does it have to be MJF?
I think
it's a tough situation because it depends entirely on the direction we're taking. If we're taking a week to sort of cool off and figure out where the chips are going to fall, I honestly don't think you have MJF on the show at all. Like you can have Stokely cut a promo, but I don't think if you don't know who MJF is facing, because let's be honest, the fact is that match is happening at Grand Slam. I'd say that's pretty much written in stone. MJF versus AEW champion at Grand Slam. It's written in stone. But if you don't know who that's going to be, I don't think you can let MJF near a mic because he's just as likely to go off as Punk is. If Tony can't control it, I don't let MJF anywhere near a mic. Stokely Hathaway will at least be professional because he doesn't have sort of, I guess plot armor is an effective term here, but Stokely doesn't have that plot armor. He is 100% expendable. If he shoots off his mouth, they can cut him, and that's it. Nobody's hurt if Stokely Hathaway is fired on Thursday.
Yeah.
But if you have the direction, if you have the plan, then you open with that, and then you can have MJF cut the promo on whomever. So if you know where you're going and you have that worked out, then yes, you can have MJF come out and cut a promo early. If you don't, I don't want him anywhere near that TV.
Man,
I don't think MJF is the kind of guy who's going to shoot himself in the foot after getting a main event angle at the end of the.
We also don't know how the bridge were like. We don't know how much of what happened in May was a work or not.
Exactly, right. So
we don't know how much of that phone call was real or fake. If Tony had to soothe the wheels with money, then MJF is just going to be like, I'm just going to count my Benjamins. I've already done this. I'm good.
I think MJF wants what's best for the company, but he also wants what's best for MJF, which is
more importantly
the same thing we were just talking about, right? And I don't think that. I think they have enough faith in MJF to not kind of rock the boat. I mean, he might make it. And another thing, it depends on the legal ramifications of the situation. I mean, is MJF legally allowed to even mention this?
Yeah.
We don't know that aspect of it. So, I mean, that could play a part in, the promo tomorrow night also. So if there is nothing legal hanging over tomorrow night's show, then I think we just get an MJF promo about the title. We don't need, to really even acknowledge it. I mean, everybody I mean, the scrum, both versions of the scrum right now are over a combined 1 million views right now. So, and obviously this is a hot topic. You can't go on wrestling Twitter without seeing, millions of videos of, people getting hit with chairs and people making Nick Jackson jokes, or, people having an opinion about this situation. It's inescapable on wrestling online circles right now. So, and that is obviously a main part of AEW's audience, not entirely. There's going to be casual viewers who tune in tomorrow who are completely fucking unaware of this entire situation, who are expecting
for sure
MJF and Punk have a promo tomorrow. They're not going to get it.
There's going to be dads that watch the show tomorrow with their kids, and they're like, sweet, it's Wednesday. I watch Wednesday with my, they're not everybody's, the three of us, and, to different degrees, the three of us, because I get my information from the two of you. So it's a little bit different, but what we need, if Nick Jackson somehow shows up with a black eye, he definitely needs to tell people he fell in the shower, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love
it's pro wrestling, so it was a water sports accident.
I absolutely loved when Steve Austin did that back in the day. I don't remember who he got punched by or what the deal was, but I know they came out and he was just like, fell in the shower. And that was it. Yep. That was the explanation for the casual fan. It was great. I laughed my ass off. Of course, I had to find out what the fuck he was talking about. I went online and whatever, but I don't think Nick Jackson's going to be there anyways. I really doubt any of them are on the show tomorrow. If they are, that might even be more toxic than anything at all. If fucking
there's no way they are in the same building for a considerable amount of time.
I guess they've been removed from the promo picture as well, so that kind of gives you the.
As far as this week goes, I'll point out that I don't think Kenny was ever on this week's Dynamite. He was already scheduled to be in Tokyo on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He is representing.
Right, he's got the video game.
He's got the video game Tokyo Games Con this weekend. So Kenny Omega was never on the plan for this week's Dynamite.
I wonder if he's there.
Outside of maybe a pre-tape.
I wonder if he's still there. I bet he wants to go to that personally.
You can't not have him there unless you are removing him from the title, which is why I think you can't. Kenny, I think, is going to skate because he's the periphery guy.
Is he getting the Michaels treatment?
No, I don't think he's so much getting the Michaels treatment as he's getting the skate because he was sort of sucked in as opposed to being, a main part of it. So
he's a support character.
Exactly. He's a periphery guy. So
he wasn't the one banging down the door, but he's obviously going to support his friends.
Exactly.
Same idea with Ace Steel. And that's another thing I meant to bring up about Punk. The whole thing surrounding Punk's suspension, on the peripheral of that is what happens to Ace Steel.
Oh, he's fired. There's no question. He has there's no saving Ace here.
So from Punk's perspective, if they get rid of Ace Steel, does Punk walk? Because Ace Steel is defending Punk in a 3-on-1 situation.
I think the difference is if all Ace does is throw hands, he doesn't skate. He gets suspended like everybody else, and we move on. The second he brings a weapon into this, that's it. You can't keep him for that.
The ref
no matter the excuse, he can't. You can't bring a weapon into this. That's where this goes from locker room dust up to possible legal consequences.
The legal thing is definitely the chair thing.
It's the difference between two guys in a hockey fight. Fight all you want on the ice, off the ice, wherever. But the second you take your skate off and try to stab the other guy, we got a problem now. And it's not just 5 minutes in the penalty box.
Notice how Hangman wasn't banging down any doors? Because he's a bitch.
Well, no, he was at the bar with FTR.
I didn't give a shit.
That's the funny part.
Man.
FTR was at the bar drinking with fans.
I missed that drunk Hangman angle for a while where the captions, whenever he came in, were just hilarious.
There was a Twitter account dedicated to only those. It was phenomenal. When he did the Stadium Stampede and he just took a while off to go drink. It's just like they'd go back to what he was doing. He just fucking drinking whatever. And then all of a sudden, I think Hager and someone came into the bar. So I was like, okay, well, I get back to wrestling now. Yeah.
Yeah, the one was Hager. The other one was Santana and Ortiz, and that's where Conan got involved in it somehow.
Yeah, Conan was the bartender for Ortiz,
The first one,
Santana,
yeah.
and was it FTR? Because they did the Pinnacle. And
Yes, because
Inner
Conan
Circle.
got involved with Tully, remember?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah,
first one
yeah.
was, I think it might have been Hager. You're right. It might have been Hager the first time around.
I think that was, it's a little bit different, that one.
Speaking of the pay-per-view, why the fuck didn't Jamie Hayter win the belt?
Yeah, I was pretty upset.
That's
Jamie Hayter's.
I'll fucking do a scrum about that.
They need to put her over, god damn it. She's
Right?
fucking,
The crowd would have went nuts.
she's fucking amazing.
I think that
They
one was
want-
just more go with what was already planned, because it was clear Tony was going to win the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Tony's night, and they weren't going to take that away from Tony because she's done nothing wrong. You know, she deserved that moment, even if Thunder Rosa got hurt.
Thunder Rosa's another hard, like, I feel like just goddamn hard pill to swallow there too. Like, because she's pretty awesome. Her music's fucking awesome. When she gets out there, you're like, oh, we're going to see this crazy bitch fucking like try and beat the shit out of someone. She's got so much of a crazy energy that is obviously brought over from real life because she's crazy in real life too, from what I have heard. And
She
even
fits
seen
into
in
that
interviews.
category of takes herself too seriously in the ring.
But yeah,
Her and Punk
but it's the
get
same
along
thing where it's
great.
like, god damn, like, I'm going to miss her in the women's division, but like, is it better to just not have her if she's going to be like, I'm not dropping the belt to this person, or I'm just going to fuck off whenever I want? You're like, god damn it, fine. Like, then don't be good in the first place. Don't break my heart, god damn it. Like, I still feel like the women's division in AEW, every time it gets better, somehow it drops off.
I mean, I think it's stayed sort of on a high, but the problem is that the women's division is, God, this is going to sound horrible. It's being hampered by itself. When it was just the women's championship, everything was great. The second they added the TBS championship into it, they sort of split, they split the roster in a weird way. Like it doesn't work because it devalues one of the titles. Like you can't have an undefeated super champion holding the secondary title. Like Goldberg won the U.S. title, but eventually he won the world title. So is that what's going to happen here? And it wasn't that long after either. I mean, I think it was June,
realistically, why
and
aren't
then
we getting Tony Storm versus Jade Cargill, right? If they are the two top tier, you know what I mean? So it devalues both of them a little bit. I mean, it's fine, but I do think it hurts both of them a little bit. You know,
I think in answer to this question, logically, it has to be, because I don't think there's anyone out there with a high enough name value to come in and do it at this point.
Yeah,
Ruby didn't do it.
People anymore. So
here was my
Tony didn't do it.
I totally agree with Justin Smith. Like, should have just ended with Athena. I thought they could have thrown her over. She's pretty fucking awesome, and she's good in the ring.
You built that angle to have her lose, and then you didn't have her lose. Like, I don't, it made no sense. I can understand it to a certain point. Well, we can't have two baby faces winning the titles in the same night. Okay, I guess, but
it's different circumstances. It's Tony winning a 4-way with people who there was not a story being told leading into that 4-way. It was literally thrown together a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. The Athena story is the Athena story deserved that ending. Athena should have beaten Jade Cargill. That was the end to that story. It wasn't some thrown together thing. I mean, what do you do now with it?
I think the problem is that I don't think the Athena blow-off was supposed to happen yet. I think Chris Statlander getting hurt again changed the plan. I think Statlander was going to be the one that either she was going to be the one to eventually beat Jade, or she was going to be the one to have the all-out match, and then we could, go to Full Gear where Athena finally gets her shots and wins the belt.
Actually, I could see Statlander beating her as something I could see happening.
Do we really want Jade to hold the belt for another year? Because that's how long Chris is gone.
That was a huge wrench into things because they had big plans for her.
At the very least, she was next woman up.
Fine, me and Jer were right. It's got to be Jamie Hayter.
I could buy that. Let's be honest. If we make the change,
she can match muscles.
If we go to a point now where, and this is just me purely off the cuff spitball fantasy, if we get to next week, we are heading into, let's say, Grand Slam, and Jade Cargill once again throws out the open challenge, New York City, I can beat anybody, and you see Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker in the back like talking about it, and Jamie just says, I've had enough, I'm doing it, I'm taking this shot, and does the face turn and is the one who who beats Jade, then I'm all for that booking.
Could be interesting. I'm actually I'm almost talking myself into you know what? Maybe there isn't any problem with the women's division. But anyways,
they've got the pieces, and I think
I like what you said too here about Deeb. Like Serena Deeb, also awesome.
Yes, they haven't done fuck all with her since the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. What the fuck is with that?
Problem is, get
her back on TV.
I agree. She should be on TV, but I think now you can bring her back to work with Tony. I think that's a great program.
Yeah,
with great matches.
Absolutely.
But you can't put her with Jade because that makes no sense unless you're going to turn Serena face. And Serena Deeb is not a baby face in any stretch of the imagination. Has she ever been a baby face in her career ever?
I mean, kinda-ish on the indies here and there, but nothing, long-term or in front of a whole lot of eyes. I mean...
Britt Baker could win it in Pittsburgh as a face.
Yeah,
she'd go to a heel again the next day.
The belt in Long Island.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, though. I think even in New York, he's still getting the face pop.
Yeah.
I mean, he got the face pop in Chicago. That had to piss Punk off. When the pay-per-view goes off air, when the pay-per-view goes off air in Chicago, and they're chanting,
I feel like that's overstated. I feel like that's being overstated. Because everybody on the face wants to see MJF back, even if they just want to see him back so CM Punk can fight him again. Specifically.
I'm saying that more in the stance of Punk built that matchup as I am Chicago, we are Chicago, and Chicago cheers for MJF. That's oh.
I think. So where are they this week?
We're doing a New York swing. Yeah. It's
so
Buffalo, Albany, Rochester, and then Arthur Ashe, I think.
So MJF's probably getting a pop tomorrow night. And another thing we haven't talked about is Daniel Garcia going to win the pure title tomorrow night? I think he has to.
I don't care. Crowd, I hate Wheeler Yuta.
Wheeler Yuta's great,
hometown crowd. I think he has to.
I think to advance the story of him not needing Jericho, because Jericho said, I'm not going to be in your corner. Garcia gets the belt, and then that gives him even further fuel to say, you know what, maybe I don't need the Jericho Appreciation Society. And you know what? I feel bad for Danielson and Jericho because they just did not have it in them to go 23 minutes at the pay-per-view. And it was a fine match, but it just felt...
It was the placement on the card that hurt them. I think if you switch that match with the Trios title match, I think you have a much better formatted pay-per-view. But I think you're right about that. I think Even one step further, I think Daniel Garcia wrestles the match with Wheeler Yuta in front of his hometown audience, wins the match, and shakes his hand. And then, of course, that offends Chris Jericho mightily because you're a sports entertainer, that we don't do that. And then you can have Jericho feud with Garcia because that'll actually give us something new. And
well, God damn it, guys! I'm gonna pull the hook on this one. We're getting to be a little bit late. We're almost at 2 hours.
No, not Red Rum.
Let's really quickly get one question. I want to know. So even without fantasy booking it, who should be the next champion? If we're gonna vacate it, who should it be right away? The Bryan Danielson run that we never got. I think we could cut back to that. We can get that. We could actually get the real.
I'd be okay with that as long as he's healthy. Fuck yeah, give me 6 months of Bryan Danielson. Just stretching fools. I'm here for that.
All right, what do you add? Do you have any other answer?
I mean, MJF is the obvious answer. So,
I really do think MJF needs to take it from Punk. I'm actually pretty solid on that. But anyways, go on, Johnny.
I think, let's be honest, whoever wins this belt is a transitional champion at best. They are only holding this belt until New York when MJF cashes in that chip. Because they're not changing that. Grand Slam is the anointing of Maxwell Jacob Freeman. I don't think there's any way around that. So now you have to put in an opponent that's good for him and that can make it work with him. And yes, and it would certainly fit that bill. He would wrestle an amazing match with MJF. He has the built-in, cachet value that you may not beat Punk for the belt. Okay, I beat Bryan Danielson for the belt. That's just as good. That might be even better because, Danielson main evented WrestleMania. What have you ever done? So I think I said it earlier. It's Jon Moxley again, because he's old reliable. He's old faithful. You put anybody, he's going to have a great match. You put him in the ring with MJF, he's going to have a great match. And he still has that, that cachet, that name value. And you're not ruining anything else. Otherwise, I'd say Chris Jericho. But, again, then we're looking at, MJF, Chris Jericho again, and that doesn't make sense. But, put him in there with, with Moxley, and that makes perfect sense because then you can feud MJF and his new, stable of Stokely Hathaway clients against the Blackpool Combat Club, which I think would be amazing because you've definitely got some great in that cohesive unit that makes a lot of sense. And, it continues sort of that AEW trend of stable warfare at the top of the card.
Yeah, I totally agree. Guys, this has actually been a really fun, really entertaining show. I'm glad you guys came on tonight. I'm glad that I'm glad we were able to make something fun out of this fucking crazy
Chaos.
Goddamn mess that we have. And it's a really short turnover into what we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out who was right, who was wrong, what's in the middle, where is in that gray area, what's gonna happen first tomorrow, what's gonna happen with the championship. We might not find out tomorrow, but we're gonna find some shit out for sure. There might be some interesting press releases tomorrow, or suspensions we hear about, or who knows. Fucking maybe Ace Steel's going to jail. But we'll figure it all out tomorrow.
Possibility.
And we'll probably talk about it very, very soon. Yeah, exactly. Do what this guy said. Go ahead, Johnny.
All right, you can catch me in about 30 minutes time if you're watching this live over on the Bros Before Pros Twitch channel, where we will continue our climb with the chat drafted fantasy Dradden franchise.
Awesome. And Jer, I think this guy down here is probably telling you what you should say.
Yes.
That Jer guy's telling Jer what to say? What the hell?
I've been posting as much information on DMD on Facebook as possible on this
And
story.
I've been providing the meme game
on top of other stories. Oh yeah, the memes are tremendous. So check out DMD on Facebook. I posted the link in the group chat there. There is also a Discord, and there is also a Google Drive for $10 a month for all sorts of wrestling content. You know, almost 70 wrestling promotions. You know, $10.
I was watching it right before we got on the air today. I was watching some good old fashioned GCW.
See, there you go. Georgia Championship Wrestling.
It's amazing, and it's the best goddamn Facebook group on wrestling by far that I'm on. I have a couple that I like. I left a shit ton of them because I'm getting all I need with them with DMD. So
plug the Discord,
and you know, for me, I got Rick and Morty coming up again on Sunday, right after the episode. Come to Fandom Empire, come talk to me about what happened on Rick and Morty that week. So that's what I got going. Also, an episode of House of the Dragon drops really soon. Also, like we have so much stuff coming out here. Just want to let you guys know we also got extra content on Patreon. So. Don't like and comment. And
do that too.
That's not,
yeah,
I didn't mean to bring that. I didn't mean to bring that one up. Where the fuck is the other one? God damn it! You know what? I can't even.
If you don't like this video, I'm gonna send Ace Steel to your house. Nail down your chairs, motherfucker.
Hide your chairs and cover your arms.
I don't even know how to get this fucking logo off so we can talk now. So
it's not the only thing you can't get off.
Oh, this is what I was looking for. Patreon. Become a Patreon member. Get our Patreon stuff. Lots of awesome video content about Halloween Ends and many more things. Maybe we'll even get some. Maybe someday we'll even get some wrestling content on Patreon for all you guys who come to visit us for wrestling news. That's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Love the engagement. Love the having everybody in the comments. Great job, guys. Thanks for joining me, Jer and Johnny. And we'll see you after Dynamite. We'll probably talk pretty soon after Dynamite about what the fuck went on. Maybe it'll be the three of us. Maybe it'll be two of us. I don't know. We'll see.
The rating will probably be through the roof.
Later, guys, just as Justin Smith says, thank you for joining us, guys. And let me just find that goddamn fucking intro thing again. And this is right there.
And the time it'll take.